Hi everyone, welcome back. My name's Diana. This is my channel Bookish Di, and today I am wrapping up my June, that's the month, June 2021 reading. So it was a slower month for me again. I only read 5 books. I've been feeling a bit slumpy, and I also can't blame Mass Effect this time. But I have gotten into Stardew Valley, and while I could be listening to audiobooks while I play Stardew Valley, I've actually just been listening to podcasts and catching up on shows like This Podcast Will Kill You. I started listening to Swindled. So I'm going to try and actually listen to audiobooks when I play Stardew Valley, but I do like podcasts a lot, and that's kind of taking up my audio time. But for the most part, this was a fairly solid reading month. I don't think I rated anything lower than a 3.5 this month, which is really great, especially after last month's intense disappointment with A Sweet Mess. So the first book that I read last month was The Kissing Bug, A True Story of a Family, an Insect, and a Nation's Neglect of a Deadly Disease by Daisy Hernandez. This is a new release. This is a epidemiology / memoir book about Chagas disease. So Daisy Hernandez is a Latina author whose aunt from Colombia had Chagas disease, and this is a disease that's classified under neglected tropical disease. It's really prevalent in the Americas, particularly in Mexico, Central South America, as well as the United States Southwest. And it's transmitted by a bug called the kissing bug, because it will bite you a lot of times, like around your mouth, and leave welts. And what Daisy Hernandez does with this book is she not only talks about her personal relationship with this disease, in terms of her relationship with her aunt who came to live with them, and talking about the ups and downs of her relationship with her aunt, but also going into the history of this disease, how it was named and classified, current ongoing efforts to treat and prevent it, as well as in the final section, documenting the lives of those in the United States that have Chagas disease. I really enjoyed this book. I wasn't quite sure. I didn't expect going in that I would fully get like the memoir aspect in this book, because I have read various epidemiology books. If you've seen my channel, it's something that I've mentioned enjoying. But this, I think this is one of the ones that has the most personal stake in the disease that it's talking about. And I really liked that component of it. I thought Hernandez did a really great job documenting not only how the disease, not just talking about her relationship with the disease, but also her relationship with her aunt. Because Hernandez is a queer woman, she's bisexual, and so much of her relationship with her aunt became complicated by that fact, and by the fact that Hernandez didn't fit traditional feminine gender roles. So that was really great. And I also really appreciated the fact that Hernandez really talks about why the United States is seeing this increase in people in Chagas disease, and how it's directly related to the fact that the United States pursued this really colonialist role in Central and South America that has caused a lot of violence and displacement of people, and that then leads to them coming to the United States, where they face barriers in terms of accessing healthcare, and then also the fact that healthcare providers, except for like a select few, don't really treat this disease or don't really know what to look for, and how it leads to this intersection of race, ethnicity, class, national origin, and leads to people being impacted pretty devastatingly. I really enjoyed this book. This is one where I might actually buy my own version, because I borrowed it from the library, just because it's something that I really want to reread. I gave it 4.25 stars. If you're interested at all in this subject, I would highly recommend picking up this book. Hernandez is a fantastic writer, and I definitely learned more about just Chagas disease and more about quote unquote neglected tropical diseases. And I would also recommend, if you do end up reading this book and enjoying it, checking out the podcast, This Podcast Will Kill You, hosted by 2 epidemiologists. It does a very good job of going into different diseases and talking about the history of the disease, how it developed, current efforts to treat and prevent it. Very good podcast, would highly recommend it. The second book that I read in the month of June was a reread. It was An Artificial Night by Shauna Maguire. This was for my reread project with Renee and KJ on Fangirl Happy Hour. I don't know when the next episode of that is going to drop for a local habitation, but I'll drop the first episode that we talked about, Rosemary and Rue, in the description box. Again, this is a reread. I haven't reread this book since 2012, I want to say. And this, I think, for me personally, is where I think the Toby Day series gets really good. So the first 2 books that have like a lot of content, and you can definitely go back and see the seeds of what Maguire was planting pretty early on in terms of reveals that we get later in the series. But this is where, in my opinion, the series really starts getting good, because you see Toby start to really collect the found family that characterizes the later books. We see the introduction of her fetch May. We get Raj. We get more with Quentin and Tybalt. And you also start seeing the fractures in some of her relationships that she had previously relied on start to form, and those will end up growing throughout the series. And so I realize I haven't talked about the plot at all. So in this book, Toby is tasked with tracking down missing children because this Fae monster blind Michael has stolen not just Fae children, but human children, and Toby, and including Toby's adopted nieces and nephews. And so she's trying to get them back, and as she's doing so, she learns more about the structure of Fae. She learns more about not just what she's capable of, but what those around her are willing to do to get her back and to protect her. And so I really enjoyed this book. It's a 4-star read for me. It really is where the Toby series starts putting the pedal to metal and just revving things up. And if you have started the books, because I know this is nominated for the Hugos for Best Series this year, and the first 2 books are kind of struggling, this one is where it really picks up. So the third book that I read this month was Network Effect by Martha Wells. This is the Murderbot novel published last year. And so I absolutely adored this book. If you've seen my videos, you know that I love Murderbot. I had reread the first 4 novellas earlier this year. I had also read Fugitive Telemetry. And so now I have finally read the Murderbot novel. And so this book picks up a while after Murderbot has been on preservation and details its adventures when an old friend seeks it out for help and then entangles some of the humans that Murderbot had been tasked with protecting at the time. And this is a very fun, fast-paced adventure. Murderbot, as always, is a delightful character. I liked how it expanded on things that we had seen before, both in terms of the community of preservation, but also sec units and robots, and teasing out some of the things that had been hinted at in terms of the alien remnant previously, as well as the role of corporations and other entities within this universe. I loved this book, easily 5 stars. I had read this as part of my ongoing attempts to try and read everything nominated for the Hugos, Astounding, and Lodestar this year, because this is nominated not only for Best Novel, but as part of Best Series. So and I might do a video at some point talking about the Hugo books that I've read closer to when the voting period closes, like after the voting period closes, because I love this book and I think it's a great novel, but I don't know if I would necessarily classify it as best novel. I don't know. Things are complicated. I need to read the other best novel nominees and also kind of sort through my feelings of how do I classify like best novel versus like best series. Anyway, yeah, I loved this book a lot. 5 stars. And I cannot wait till the next installment of Murderbot. I might actually get this book on audio because I think I have some Libro FM credits and re-listening to it, because I have been listening to the other Murderbot novels and I do like Kevin R. Free's narration. So that might be a way I reconsume this novel later on. The 4th book that I read in the month of June was Heard on a Leash by Alana Martin. This is a contemporary romance set in Alaska. It centers on Taylor Linton and Josh Crane. They are 2 people on the opposite sides of a generations-long family feud. Josh Crane is a doctor, and his mother had left the town to get away from the feud because she thought it was ridiculous. And ever since he moved back, he's been drawn in with his family, the Porters. And then Taylor had left Alaska to go to Southern California, again, because she didn't like the revolt or didn't like the feud and wanted to get away. But her parents' impending divorce leads her to, and her losing her job leads to her coming back to help her sister with their family hotel. And they meet and fall in love and have to deal with everything surrounding it. So this was really enjoyable. It was definitely on my, good, not great. For me, it was a solid 3.5 star. And I really liked the characters. I liked the community around them. I loved the dogs. The dogs were great. That's actually why I had picked up or like put a hold in on this book at the library, because I love huskies, and I saw the cover. I'm like, you know what? I could use a romance that has some really good dogs, and this did not disappoint. There are some fantastic dogs. I liked the small town aspect. Some things that didn't, and I liked the fact that there are enough people like trying to break the cycle with this family feud. Some things that I didn't quite like was, and this for me, I think is very much a personal thing as I'm reading more romances and kind of sitting with them, is a lot of times for me, that bleak moment at the end tends to happen very late, and there isn't always enough resolution for me. And this was kind of like that, where that bleak moment just was kind of like, it felt like going through the motions. And then I think, it was fine. I enjoyed it. I definitely will check out the author's other books because she has some more coming out. She has one coming out later this year, which focuses on Josh's cousin Kelsey and the new brew pub owner in town, Ian. And I did like Kelsey. She's very much, I get Elliot Spencer vibes from her in terms of like very grumpy, but like has a soft center. And so if you watch Leverage, I hope you understand that reference. Anyway, 3.5 stars. We'll definitely be checking out this author's books moving forward. Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was good, enjoyable romance. The final book that I read in the month of June was Act Your Age by Talia Hibbert. This is the 3rd book in her Brown series and follows youngest sister Eve Brown, who gets cut off from her trust fund after her latest failed business venture, and then runs away to the Lake District, sees a sign advertising for a chef at a B&B, applies, clashes with the owner, Jacob, and as she's leaving, accidentally hits him with her car. This, I am sorry to say, it was my least favorite of the Brown sisters books. That's not to say that I didn't like it, but I absolutely adored Get a Life Chloe Brown and Take a Hint Dani Brown. And this one for me just didn't quite measure up to those books. And there are 2 specific reasons for that. So the first was I didn't really buy into the setup I think as much as Talia Hibbert wanted us to. So for me, the whole I accidentally hit you with a car and now I work here just stretched. It was asking me to suspend my disbelief a little too much. I didn't really like that setup for the romance. I really enjoyed the middle portion. I really liked Jacob and Eve's characters. I liked watching their relationship develop. I liked the fact that they're both neuroatypical. They're both on the autism spectrum. And the fact that part of Eve's development was her realizing that, hey, you know, I actually am autistic, and this does explain a lot of how I interact with the world and how I perceive things and how people interact with me. And I really enjoyed that. I liked the cast of characters. But then the other thing at the end that kind of docked my enjoyment of this was, once again, the bleak moment in the romance, because I felt that it came out of nowhere and it felt out of tune with the rest of the book. And then also involved a lot of boundary crossing that, for me at least, didn't feel fully addressed by the narrative, especially because, I don't know what my cats are doing, especially because it came so close to the end of the book. And so it ended up being like a 3.25, 3.5 read for me, which again, a little disappointing given how much I had loved the previous installments of the book, or of the series. I know Talia Hibbert is doing a companion series set in the same town where Eve and Jacob's B&B is, Skybriar, and so I am looking forward to that. I think it's coming out next year, and so it's going to be centered on Jacob's friends Mont, Tessa, and Alex. And so I think that's going to be good. I'm looking forward to it. I'm sad I didn't like this more, because I know some of my friends absolutely loved this book, and it didn't work for me as well as I wanted it to. So that was my month in books for June. 5 books total. Overall, fairly solid. So have you read any of the books that I read and want to discuss them? Do any of these books sound interesting? Please let me know in the comments below. And if you like what you see, please like and subscribe, and I will chat with you later. Bye.